Hello.
Hi, this is
Hello.
Stephanie from the PUC. Someone just joined the call. It starts with 970 and ends in 675. Who is that?
Yeah, this is Slade Dick with S&R
Okay,
Towing.
thank you. And are you able to change? You're just using a telephone today?
Yeah, we went to go ahead and get into the Zoom meeting here, and my phone's currently broke, and I tried to actually join Zoom, and it's trying to make me download the link and the app there, and I was unable to do so in a timely manner.
Okay. Are you going to try to do that? Or are you just going to stay on the telephone?
I can stay on the telephone. I mean, we're still attending, correct?
You are. You won't be able to see any of the documents that are shared on the screen, though.
Okay, let me give me one sec. Let me try
Okay.
to. We were actually just going to ask for a continuance, so I don't know if we're still going to be shared documents.
That'll be up to the judge once the hearing starts. But just in case you weren't able to get onto Zoom, do you mind if I change the phone number that shows up to show your name and your towing company?
That's completely fine. In the
Okay,
meantime, I'll try to
thanks.
down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, do you still have me on the line here?
Yes, I do.
And just so you're aware, I think I'm going to have to wait till this next hearing to be able to download the Zoom. This phone isn't mine and it's not working. I don't have any of the passwords to be able to do so.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
you can let the judge know also when we start the hearing.
Okay.
Everybody hear me okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Great. Is everybody ready to go?
Commission staff
Yeah,
is
we're
ready to
ready.
proceed, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms.
Yeah.
Boulay?
Judge ready.
Okay. Go ahead, whoever else was speaking.
Yeah, this is Slade with S&R Towing. We're just going to ask, Your Honor, if we can get a continuance just because our counsel wasn't able to attend this hearing due to him not getting adequate notice. So,
Okay. Well, let's go on the record. What is your name, sir?
my name is Slade Dick. I'm with S&R Affordable Towing.
Okay, thank you. Let me go on the record and do some preliminaries, and then we can talk about that, Mr. Dick.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Ms. Kunkel, are you ready as well?
Yes, Judge, ready.
Okay. We are on the record in the Colorado Public Utilities Commission's consolidated proceeding number 23G-0153TO and 23G-0154TO. My name is Connor Farley. I am the administrative law judge assigned to this proceeding. It is approximately 9:03 a.m. on August 29th, 2023. And this proceeding is being webcast. I will take appearances starting with staff.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Assistant Attorney General Jeremy Johnston, bar registration number 54424. I'm here representing the Transportation Section Commission staff. I'm joined by Jennifer Hayden, who I will introduce herself.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I'm Jennifer Hayden, also with trial staff. With us as our witness investigator, Joseph Potts.
Great, thank you, and welcome to both of you. And Mr. Dick, if you could enter your appearance, which just really means introduce yourself and let us know what entity you are here on behalf of.
Yeah, my name is Slade Dick. I'm with S&R Affordable Towing LLC out of Durango, Colorado, and I'm the owner.
Okay, great. Thank you, and welcome, Mr. Dick. So before we went on the record, Mr. Dick indicated that he'd like to request a continuance. So, Mr. Dick, why don't you go ahead and formally make that request at this time?
Yeah, I was actually just wondering if we can get a continuance just due to election, adequate timing on notice for my counsel. I guess we got one of the hearings. We didn't know that there were two. We thought the two CPANs were actually going to go into one hearing, and my counsel received one, but not this one. So he does need to attend. And I'd rather have him on the line with us. But if we can get a short continuance, that way we can get his calendar, I'd appreciate that.
Okay. So, and you say your attorney is not on the line or in this hearing currently?
Yeah, he is not on the line with us right now. He would have attended, but he actually had a hearing today for another individual, so he was unable to attend with us.
Understood. So, and just so the record is clear, Mr. Dick, the two CPANs have been consolidated. So this was intended to be the hearing for the two CPANs that I'm aware of. That's why at the outset I indicated that this is consolidated proceeding number 23G-0153TO and 23G-0154TO. I consolidated them in a decision. Give me just a moment. I believe it was decision R23-0341-I that issued on May 23rd, 2023. But just so the record is clear, there's only both of the CPANs have been consolidated into one proceeding, and the intent is to have one hearing encompassing both CPANs. So I just wanted you to understand that. So let me just turn to staff and ask whether staff has any objection to continuance of the hearing to allow Mr. Dick's attorney to attend.
Your Honor, staff does object to a continuance, and I can make further argument when Your Honor is ready to hear that.
Okay, why don't you go ahead?
So, Your Honor, I think in all fairness, you should be aware that there are two intersecting issues. Number one is the continuance request that staff opposes, and number two is the requirement that S&R Towing be represented by counsel. They are a corporate entity, a non-natural human, and so the law does require that they be represented by counsel in litigation. There is a limited exception to that requirement. We do not believe that that exception applies because the amount in issue exceeds $15,000. So as a starting point, I would like Your Honor to consider what would have happened if S&R Towing had not showed up at all to the hearing today. And we expect that Your Honor would have allowed commission staff to proceed with hearing, and that Your Honor would make a ruling on that the hearing in S&R's absence. And today, staff's position is that S&R Towing functionally has showed up completely unprepared for this hearing, such that Your Honor may consider them to be the equivalent of not appearing. Your Honor issued an initial decision on July 10th of this year. That decision set the deadline for a motion to reschedule the hearing at July 25th of 2023. At that time, when that decision was issued July 10th, there was already a parallel, somewhat related proceeding in the PUC 23M-0355TO. S&R Affordable Towing submitted a towing permit application. That application was denied, and they appealed that decision. And they are represented by counsel in that case. And counsel submitted a request for appeal on June 30th of 2023. And one of the basis for the denial of that towing application was these CPANs, and these CPANs are noted in the denial letter that was sent to S&R Affordable Towing. So way back when Your Honor initially scheduled this hearing, S&R Towing was represented by counsel in a somewhat related proceeding, and the denial letter specifically mentioned the existence of these CPANs. So 2 months ago, nearly, when Your Honor set this, S&R Towing was already having communications with counsel and already was aware or should have been aware that these CPANs existed and were set for hearing. The standard for continuance is set by Colorado Rule of Civil Procedure 121, requires good cause, and good cause in case law is defined, and I'm quoting specifically from Miller v. Brandon, 207 P3D 923. Good cause exists when there are unforeseen and exceptional circumstances. And we submit that this is neither unforeseen nor exceptional, that S&R Towing has had plenty of notice that they needed to get an attorney for these cases, and in fact have retained an attorney for a related proceeding, and for one reason or another have not been able to get counsel to appear for this particular case. I spoke to.
Can I chime in on that?
Not quite
just
yet,
real
Mr.
quick,
Dick.
Mr.
Dick, hold on one moment. This is ALJ Farley. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to respond, but now is staff's time to make this argument. But rest assured, you're going to get time to respond. Okay, so Mr. Johnston, please continue.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I spoke to the attorney on the related proceeding. His name is Gregory Tucker. It's my understanding after that conversation that he did not become aware of this hearing until yesterday. So I'm not sure what the miscommunication is between S&R Affordable Towing and Mr. Tucker, but Mr. Tucker was not made aware of this hearing until very recently.
How do you know that, Mr. Johnston?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. What was that?
How do you know that?
He told me.
You spoke with him
on the phone yesterday.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, please.
It is incumbent on S&R Towing to secure their legal counsel for this proceeding. They had plenty of notice to do so and just failed to do that. Noticing that we had not received an entry of appearance for this case, I emailed S&R Towing myself on August 14th. And then more recently, last week, I was put in touch with a woman named Catherine Steinfeld, who I understand to be Slade Dick's mother. And at her request, I forwarded those same emails indicating that S&R Towing needed to hire an attorney last week. That was last Thursday, and still S&R Towing did not reach out to their counsel about this issue until yesterday. So I imagine that last week still would have been a pretty quick timeline for an attorney to prepare for hearing, but at least would have been possible for S&R Towing to proceed today if they had gotten in touch with their attorney last week. So 2 months ago, when they received notice of this hearing, they did nothing. On August 14th, when I emailed them to tell them that they needed to have an attorney for this proceeding, they did nothing. Last week, when I spoke to Catherine Steinfeld, who is Slade Dick's mother, they did nothing. It was not until yesterday that they finally reached out to their attorney to tell him that they had a hearing today. So with all of that, Your Honor, we would oppose the motion to continue, understanding, of course, that representation by an attorney is probably required for an S&R Towing, and I have a couple additional things to say about that when the time is appropriate, but we would oppose a continuance at this point.
Okay. So,
Your Honor, this is Greg Tucker, and am I allowed to respond now, or do I need to wait? And I'm saying that in all due respect. I don't know if he's done.
So this is Greg Tucker, the attorney for Slade Dick doing business as S&R. Okay, I thought you were not on the in this hearing.
Well, I wasn't supposed to be. Your Honor, I've got a super busy day, but I can explain my position on this if I can.
Okay, why don't you go ahead, Mr. Tucker?
Okay. I guess my first point on this is that the PUC knows that I represent S&R Towing on another matter, and I don't know why they didn't give my office notice. I called both my paralegals. We never received any notice of this. A week's notice of a hearing, and I'm sure we're all busy on everybody that's on the call. A week's notice isn't even good enough, but I found out about this yesterday. I think that the PUC should have sent me notice knowing that I represent S&R Towing on a different matter. I never received notice. I found out about this yesterday. I did talk to everybody yesterday about this, but it's impossible. I mean, it's actually very hard for me to even be on this call right now. I practice in 3 states and do oil and gas, and I apologize that I am not prepared to do this hearing today. I don't even know what this is about.
Here you go, Greg. They consolidated the original hearing that you were going to attend with this one, so you should have been given notice for this one, being the judge actually consolidated.
Slade, please don't talk. Let me do this, okay?
Your Honor, may I interject?
Hold on, Mr. Johnston. Let Mr. Tucker continue, and I need one person to speak at a time and to identify themselves before they start speaking. So, Mr. Tucker, why don't you continue on?
Okay, so Your Honor, I don't know if they were consolidated or not, but I know I did not get notice of this. And I guess the main point is, what's the prejudice to the PUC if we continue this, where I have time to prepare for this and we can have a proper hearing? There's no prejudice. And I understand the case law that he's citing. I'm licensed in Colorado, Texas, and New Mexico. I get it. And there's no prejudice to the PUC. There's no reason we should go forward when I'm not prepared. They don't have an attorney, and I was never notified of this hearing till yesterday. Now, I understand that he sent a letter a week ago. That's, Your Honor, that's not enough time to prepare. I mean, this is a pretty complex situation that I don't even know the facts. I know the facts of the first case, but I don't know if they were consolidated. I haven't had even an opportunity to prepare for this. And I don't see a prejudice to continuing this.
Okay, Mr. Tucker. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnston. You indicated that you had further argument that you wanted to make. So why don't you go ahead and make the remainder of your argument.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, I'd like to point out that commission rule requires that counsel enter an appearance before arguing on behalf of an entity. And the reason why Mr. Tucker has not received any of the notices that this court has issued, that the commission has issued, I should say, is because he has not entered an appearance. And so I don't know that he is allowed legally under the commission rules to represent S&R Towing in these proceedings, because he has not yet complied with the rule that requires him to enter an appearance. This, again, is something that I noticed S&R Towing to when I emailed them on August 14th, and I forwarded that email to Slade Dick's mother, Catherine Steinfeld, last week. As to prejudice, number one, these cases are based on allegations that occurred in February of this year. Took a bit for these to be set. So we're already more than half a year removed from the underlying allegations. And number two, we've received reports that S&R Towing is continuing to operate in the absence of an active permit. At hearing, Your Honor, we intend to introduce multiple exhibits to that effect. And so this is an ongoing current situation that S&R Towing, we believe, is in violation of commission rule and possibly other laws. So there is extreme prejudice in this proceeding being continued because S&R Towing continues to violate the law. So we would oppose a continuance. I, of course, understand the position that Mr. Tucker is in. It's a difficult one. I don't envy it for any attorney, but this is S&R Towing's responsibility to secure counsel for this proceeding, and they have not done so. Thank you.
So, Mr. Tucker, let me ask you, are you entering your appearance by appearing here today? Are you entering your appearance? Okay. And on behalf of Slade Dick, doing business as S&R Affordable Towing LLC, is that right?
Correct, and I've already entered my appearance in the other PUC issue, and I didn't even know about this case, Your Honor. Otherwise,
Okay,
I
let me
would have
ask
entered
you
my
this.
appearance.
Let me ask
Yeah.
you this, Mr. Tucker. It sounds like you entered your appearance in the application proceeding. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so I am not aware of any record indicating that you've entered appearance in either of the individual CPAN proceedings that have been consolidated, and that is this proceeding at this point. So I just wanted to give you that heads up.
Well, and Your Honor, I appreciate that. I didn't know about these proceedings, but I am, for the record, saying I'm entering my appearance.
Okay.
On these, I mean, if you need a written entry of appearance, I can have my staff send you that. But I found out about this yesterday, so I apologize. It took me off guard. I didn't know there was another pending case, and I don't know if the cases were consolidated or not. I guess we can look into that, but I would have thought
I can tell you, Mr. Tucker, I'm the one who consolidated them, like I said earlier. So they have been consolidated, these two CPANs. The two preceding numbers are 23G-0153TO and 23G-0154TO, and they've been consolidated for purposes of hearing and decision. So so let me ask you this, Mr. Johnston.
I'm sorry, that kind of begs the question why I didn't get notice. If they were consolidated, then I don't know why I didn't get notice.
So the reason why you didn't get notice, Mr. Tucker, is because you have not entered an appearance in either of those proceedings. So
I have.
you only get.
I did enter my. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I did enter my appearance, and I was actually in court on the first one, and entered my appearance, and did it both verbally and by paperwork. And so I don't know where the glitch is, but
so I think there's some confusion here. Hold on one second, Mr. Tucker. Let me ask you this, Mr. Johnston. What is the proceeding number for the, were they seeking a permit, a towing permit that was denied? And what is that proceeding number?
23M-0355TO.
Okay, so 23M-0355TO. Do I have that right, Mr. Johnston?
Yes, Your Honor.
And was there a hearing in that proceeding?
I'm not aware of a hearing in that proceeding, but candidly, Your Honor, I'm not intimately aware of the details of that case in general. So it is possible there was some on the record event that occurred, but I'm not aware specifically what's been going on.
Okay, so everybody, let's pause for a moment. Let me just give me a few moments here. All right, Mr. Tucker, what the commission e-filing system is showing, these are the official records for all of our proceedings, is you did not enter an appearance in either of the two proceedings, the CPAN proceedings that have been consolidated, which are this proceeding, and that's 23G-0153TO and 23G-0154TO. You did make a filing in the permit application proceeding, and you made that on June 30th, 2023. And it's effectively an entry of appearance. So I think there's just a little confusion here. So in any event, let me ask you, Mr. Johnston, this point is kind of moot at this point because Mr. Tucker has entered an appearance on behalf of S&R Affordable Towing LLC here today. But your office, the commission brought this proceeding against Slade Dick in his individual capacity, doing business as S&R Affordable Towing LLC, which I've always understood you're suing Mr. Dick in his individual capacity when you do it that way. So I'm a little confused by your argument, which I think is moot at this point, that the respondent requires an attorney in this proceeding. Do you have any response to that?
You're right. I agree that I think that it's moot at this point. I will say you noticed a nuance that I did not, that it is Slade Dick doing business as S&R Affordable Towing. I had not factored that into the analysis. That might change things, candidly, but I would need to do additional research. I had only been thinking about them as a corporate entity.
Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. Out of an abundance of caution, I'm going to grant the motion for continuance. And it's out of an abundance of caution to allow S&R Affordable Towing LLC to be represented by Mr. Tucker. And Mr. Tucker, what I'm going to require you to do is to file a written entry of appearance in this consolidated proceeding that includes all of your contact information, which will then be input into the commission's electronic systems for purposes of ensuring that you get notice of everything that happens in this proceeding. So, Mr. Tucker, I'm going to need you to do that forthwith. When do you think you can do that by, Mr. Tucker?
Oh, I can do it today. And of course, Your Honor, of course I'll do that.
Okay. We're at August 29th. Mr. Tucker, when can you be ready to go forward with the hearing in this proceeding? I've heard what you said at the same time, and I know you're a busy person. Complexity-wise, I think you can get up to speed on this really quickly. In any event, why don't you go ahead and tell me when you think you'll be ready to go on the hearing in this proceeding?
How about does September 15th work for everybody? That's about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. Does September 15th work?
Give me a moment.
Okay.
September 15th works for me. How about for staff?
Your Honor, may I check with Mr. Potts and Mr. Swint to see if they're available on the 15th? And I believe Ms. Hayden has a conflict that afternoon, but would be available that morning if you have a morning time on the 15th.
And I do have a morning time. Yes. Mr. Johnson, how would you like to do this? Would you like to go off the record so you can?
I'm comfortable just asking them, Mr. Potts, Mr. Swint, are you available the morning of the 15th for this hearing?
Lloyd Swint, I'm available that day.
Sorry, Judge, this is Stephanie. It doesn't look like there's a hearing room available that day. There's a hold for one, and then there's two other hearings. Looks like A is on hold and then B is used in the afternoon.
Yeah, give me just a moment. Let's go off the record for a moment. So that's A and B. Can we not use for a remote hearing in particular, C? You know this better than I do, Ms. Kunkel, but
Checking, give me 1 second. Thanks. It looks like, Judge, you have another matter at 10 a.m. that morning?
yes, and that should have been vacated.
Oh, okay.
So that's hearing room B in the morning, and then yeah, you're right. Hearing room B is used in the afternoon, and A is being held.
Sorry, and we would set up the afternoon hearing an hour ahead. So that would only give us until 12:30.
Understood. But I guess I'm wondering, I mean, I know that we have hearing room C, which is not used nearly as often.
Casey.
If this helps, the 22nd works. The first part of that week, I'm in trial all week, but the 22nd.
Yeah, and the 22nd does not work for me, unfortunately.
Okay.
Judge,
We're all
I'm
busy
not sure.
people.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure if C is set up for YouTube. We can check with Daniel real quick, but I'm not sure.
Okay, that's right. Right. Okay, so for the benefit of the rest of you, we recently migrated our part of our back-end system to YouTube, and Ms. Kunkel and I are not certain about whether that's worked for whether that's happened for hearing room C. So let's keep looking.
What about the 27th September? I don't want to push this out too long, but just trying to find good dates that work for everybody.
Yep. The 20, did you say the 27th?
27th. Retail conference. I could, well, I don't know how long that's going to last. I mean, 27th works, 29th works.
Yeah, I have a hearing on the 29th. Let me ask Mr. Johnson and Ms. Hayden, does the 27th work for staff?
I believe the attorneys are available on the 27th. Mr. Potts, Mr. Swint, are you available on the 27th?
Lloyd Swin, I am available.
Judge, the 27th, starting at noon, we have our show cause hearings in B, and then in the morning, A has the weekly meeting.
Yep, and
The
Ms.
27th is
Kunkel.
fine.
I think that we could work around that.
Okay. Oh, actually, Casey just double checked, and C is set up on YouTube.
It is. Okay,
Yes.
well, that's exciting. So that brings,
That'll bring us back to September 15.
yeah. So why don't we go ahead and then do September 15th? So my recollection is that that worked for everybody. If that's incorrect.
Investigator
Let me know.
Potts from the PUC. This September 15th isn't going to work for me. This respondent actually has a court date in La Plata County that I may have to testify on.
Okay, so that was you, Mr. Potts,
Yes, sir.
saying that? Okay,
Correct.
so the 15th does not work. Okay.
Hey,
So
Your
let's,
Honor, I missed what Mr. Potts said. Was that a conflict for you, Mr. Potts, or is that a conflict for Mr. Dick?
That's a conflict for me.
Okay.
Mr. Dick has a hearing in Durango that I may have to testify on. So I don't want to speak on his behalf, but that's what's happening.
Thank you.
okay, let's go back to September 27th. So unless I hear otherwise quickly, that's when the hearing is going to be rescheduled for.
Mr.
Okay.
Potts, are you available on the 27th?
Yes, sir. I'm available.
That works for commission staff, Your Honor. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So Ms. Boulay, let's go back on the record. We may have been on the record, but let's go back if not. So this hearing is going to be continued until September 27th, starting at 9 a.m. And we'll work out the hearing room for purposes of the webcast because it's going to be a remote hearing, given how geographically dispersed we all are. So 27th at 9 a.m. Mr. Tucker, let me just say something to you and your client, which is given that your client does not have a towing permit, it's imperative that your client not perform any tows unless and until he or his company gets a towing permet.
You're on.
Well, let me just
Your
finish,
Honor,
Mr. Tucker, and let me
okay.
finish, okay?
Okay.
To the extent on September 27th, I find in favor of commission staff that they've proven their allegations in support of the CPAN. One of the factors I look at in terms of the penalty is a factor that encompasses activity like performing tows without a permit. I just want you to understand that. I have some discretion in determining what a penalty should be to the extent that your client is found to be liable for what's alleged in the two CPANs. And in exercising my discretion, one factor I get to consider is whether the respondent has continued to perform tows without a permit. So as I started out on this, I'll repeat it again, which is it's imperative that your client cease performing any tows without a permit to the extent he has or is planning on doing so. So go ahead, Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Your Honor. My clients have informed me that they do have a 6-month permit for the remaining 6 months, and they are operating under a 6-month permit until they can renew, hopefully, with the PUC and everybody else. But
not to try to say something. So can you
announce yourself, Slade?
Yeah, this is Slade with S&R Towing. Judge, I just wanted to ask, what T number do you have? Because I know they said we were seeking a permit when this happened. Currently, we had a year permit that was actually a T-04532, which I've had for 12 years. When I went to go renew for insurance, I was doing so. I had 18 days grace period when these tows were performed, and they ended up doing all this. Well, Lloyd Schwint actually had me reapply and told me that this application number would be applied to my current permit, which is T-04532. And I have no idea why they did that, but he told me the only thing I needed to do was submit insurance on with the commission on file, which I did. So once I did, then he told me, he'd get back with me and issue the permit. I paid another $300 to get another permit issued, which is this application number they're talking about, which I've never had to do before. Once I did, then he got back to me 4 days later and said, "Oh, well, we're denying this permit," and I don't know how they can deny a permit that was already current and make me reapply for a new one.
Well, this is all information that could be admissible at the hearing when we have the hearing on September 27th. As you heard from Mr. Johnston basically said in arguing against your motion for continuance that it was imperative that we have the hearing today because the respondent continues to perform tows without a permit. So I'm not going to decide anything today in terms of who's right or who's wrong. And this is all subject for the hearing on September 27th. I just wanted to make clear that to the extent the respondent does not have a permit, and I'm not deciding whether you do or do not, but to the extent you do not, it's imperative that no tows be performed during the period that you do not have a permit. With that, let me just reiterate that the hearing is being continued. The oral motion for continuance made by respondent at this hearing is being granted. The hearing is being continued until September 27th at 9 a.m. And let me ask if anybody has anything further, and I'll start with staff, Mr. Johnston or Ms. Hayden.
Yes, Your Honor. I have just confirmed that S&R Towing does not have a valid operating permit in the state of Colorado. So I think that your warnings are well given. I would ask that you specifically order that S&R Towing abstain from towing while this proceeding is pending and while they do not have a permit.
Mr. Johnston, I'm not going to do that at this time. This is not an evidentiary hearing at this point. It's been continued until September 27th. So I've given the admonitions that I'm going to today. So is there anything further, Mr. Johnston?
Nothing else from staff, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Tucker, is there anything further at this point?
There is not, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. So please go ahead, Mr. Tucker, and enter your appearance as soon as possible. Today would be fantastic. I'm not going to order you to do it, but to avoid any notice issues whatsoever, you need to enter your appearance in writing in these consolidated proceedings. So please do that. In any event, there shouldn't be any notice issue at this point with respect to the hearing. As you've heard it multiple times, and I'll say it again, September 27th at 9 a.m. And you'll be receiving the Zoom link information approximately a week beforehand. So with that, let me thank all of you, and I will see you on September 27th. With that, we are adjourned for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.